All right, welcome back, everyone. It's Mr. Mike with me, Mike Makredes.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Mike, we want to see your sunshiny face in a minute on the big screen. Countdown. Mike, while we're starting this off, I definitely want to kind of start where we just ended with Paul asking the question about time. So if you could do like a 2-minute, 10,000-foot view on your story, and then I'll dive into when I visited you. So kind of like pre-visit, what you were doing and the time constraints, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my job at the time had me. I mean, I had an hour commute to work, so and I had to be at work, very early in the morning, since we're on the West Coast. So I was on the road at 5 a.m. Got to be at the office by 6. So the morning drive, I really couldn't do much, but I really maximized my time on the way home because at that point it was around 5 o'clock. Uh, I figured it's a sweet spot in my area, at least, right, for the amount of people that I was able to connect with on a live call. People were getting home from work, and I would just dial on my way home in the car. I carpooled with my brother, so he would take notes for me while I was driving, and we just had it on the Bluetooth speaker in the car, and I was just making dials with all the leads that I had from our system. So um, I couldn't do it during the day because I was at work. Sometimes I would break free and go to my car if I had to follow up with somebody in the middle of the day. I'd go on my lunch and go to my car and do a follow up call. But every second that I had, I was really maximizing the time throughout the day and throughout the week. I figured if I could just connect with 3 to 5 people a day throughout the week, and I could hit my daily goal of that the 10 to 15 leads per week was my goal. Then I could hit my taken and sold goal, right, for my
Yep.
my overall goal. So there's time throughout the day, like Brian was saying. He's probably putting in 10 to 15 hours a week in the beginning while he had his job. That's probably what I was doing as well. Aside from the drive to go view a property and things like that once I got into the viewings. But that's probably what I was putting in as well. So you can do it, Paul. You can do it with that time.
No, I appreciate it, Mike. I think I just thought of this while you were talking. Well, first of all, I got out of that your brother's an Uber driver, and like Steve Murnick, you were jumping in your car on your time during work. So I got two high points there. What I got out of that was it's really how. If you guys just come into the community, if you feel like you have a time constraint, it's just come in with the attitude, okay, how can I get around this? It's not can you, it's how can I get around it. That's it. And if your why and your goal is big enough, we'll get you there. Bottom line. All right, Mike, when I flew out to see you, some people might not know, but the immersion and the high six get visits pre-COVID and working our way back to that, to your marketplace. You very specifically said, so that they understand, it wasn't something that was outside of your goal. You said to me, in 24 months, I'd like to leave my job, and that was February of 17, if I remember. And you
Correct.
went full time, like what month? Very close to 2 years. It was, give or
Yeah, it was
take.
a little over 2 years. It's probably, I think, 25 or 26 months, like right after the 2 year mark. So we almost
Okay,
hit
so
it.
again, I'm just like drawing a big explanation point for you guys that whatever it is you want to do, we'll structure a plan that's predictable. Like how many hours you work, how many people you're going to talk to, how many houses you'll see, and what that'll convert to, and when that'll get you to your goal. Whatever your goal is, it doesn't have to be full time. There's not more than a dozen people full time in the whole community, I think. All right, Mike, I just want to give them some background, some context. So let's dive into this deal. This deal was what number for you? What number deal?
This was number 6.
Number 6. Tell us a little bit about the seller, not just how you found them and how long it took, but a little bit about what we solved for them. I think this is very important when they hear both sides of the buyer and seller side here.
Sure. Yeah. So on the seller side, I mean, it was an expired listing. Their property, it was vacant at the time. It was in a rural area, in the mountains, so it had some land in it on the property, but it was a basic home. It wasn't anything extravagant. It was a 4 bedroom home, but it was on around 6 acres of land, not farmland, but more of like just hilly land, right, in the hills. So it was difficult sell at the time. That they just couldn't get the buyer for the price that they wanted, and
And how long, Mike, if I can just jump in, how long did they have it on before you got it?
I think it was on the market for close to 8 months at that time. and then they just canceled the realtor and stopped and just wanted to take a break. They were going to rent it out to a military person that was in the area. That was a close friend of theirs for a little while. But I told them, this my option is better, and I kind of went into all the benefits and the things that they'll get from selling through our company, and they were on board. But it took a little bit more than that. But I was willing to give them close to what they wanted.
Okay, so were they living in it? Well, you said it was empty, so they weren't living in it. How long was it empty, and what was their pain? Was it just that they had a payment to make, or was it debt free?
No payment. It's debt free. It's free and clear. They did have to pay for the upkeep, keep the brush down for fires and things like that, and taxes and things like that. But other than that, they just wanted to get rid of it. They were retiring. Her husband's health wasn't doing well. That's why they moved closer into the city to be closer to the doctors. So they just wanted to get rid of the property and just get the money out. But they wanted a full value too. They didn't need it right at the time. They don't need the cash right away. They're in good position. So it was a good fit.
Okay, so we did source expired, the deal type, owner financing. What kind of term? I'm gonna go through the numbers basic because I think the story on both ends of this is important. Owner financing, what was the term you structured with them?
60 months. But let me backtrack 1 second here, Chris, so that people can understand something. The property, just so you guys know, was almost 3 hours from me. Almost 3 hours. About and it's about, I'm just gonna say it's 3 hour drive to this property. I was going kind of fast when I was driving there, but in order for me to seal this deal, I needed to meet the guy in person and see the property. This property, it had a lot of potential because they were willing to work with me as long as they're able to get their price. So they had it on the market at the time. They started at 650, and then they dropped it down to 640, then 630, and then they just took it off the market. So I ended up buying the property for 617.
Purchase price 617.
Yeah, and I just came up with that odd number just to look like it was like calculated on our end.
A well thought out metric that you had a labor over, right?
Yep. So it was probably worth in that 630 range. Even Zillow had a high, probably I would say 660. So I knew there was definitely room there. What I did with them on the phone, guys, I didn't really commit to a term. I just kind of gave them a range, and I anchored it. This is a kind of like a technique that we use is anchoring. I said we have deals that go 7 to 10 months or 7 to 10 years is usually what we do. How long are you willing to go? So you're putting it in their head that 7 to 10. Okay, 7 to 10 is our norm, and he threw out 5, and I knew if I got anywhere between 3 and 5, I would be super. I'd take the deal. You know what I mean? It was going to be a great deal, and I got 5 years out of it. So I could have gotten 7. You never know, but it's better to throw it out there. If you don't ask for that longer term, they're always going to hear the lower number. So throw out a higher number, anchor it, and then kind of come back from there if that's if that's what they want to do, if they want a shorter term. So that's what I did. And we kind of went over those terms in person when I went to my viewing. So we agreed upon 60 months as what they would be comfortable with to do. So a 5-year term. It was free and clear. So I came up with a payment of $2,000 per month.
2,000 even?
2,000 even.
Okay.
500 of
Mike,
it.
Let me ask this before we go to the number. Sorry, 2 questions actually. One is, you said 3 hours away. We haven't talked a lot about getting these sold. How many visits did you make to the house so that they can equate that to the end line profit when we get there?
1.
Okay. I said that on purpose. I was hoping you didn't go there for every buyer showing. I knew you wouldn't, but I wanted everybody to understand that we don't go to the houses. Did you set it up on lockbox?
Yep, we had a lockbox on it. And the thing was difficult about this property. Once you got to a certain part of the hills there, you lose service with your cell phone, and it's not an easy entry. Like it was crazy. So I had to really give good directions to my potential buyers to get in there. And I told them, hey, look, you're gonna lose cell service once you get up there. So you got to make sure you make this turn here and that turn there. So it took a little it took a little work to get people to the house to view it, but I only sent the people, and this is what we always do, or who are just real serious and who are especially in this price range, who can qualify for it. So I didn't have too many viewings, but there you go. That's
Okay.
the answer there. Yeah.
So another question. I know I said only two, then we'll jump to the numbers. So a lot of people say, okay, I get how you get the properties, but they're always nervous about getting them sold. So what helped you the most in getting it sold? Was it Nick? Was it QLS? Like, talk about that just for a minute, and then we'll jump to the numbers here.
I mean, it's the whole system, the whole team. I mean, over my time, starting off, everybody's helped me along the way. I've taken so many different nuggets and learned so many things by this point in the deal, right? With my sixth sold, um, that I knew how to navigate quite a bit. But I was still asking, right? You still, I mean, even to this day, I'll consult with Nick on what I'm doing, even with you, Chris, as well, on when I put a house on the market or when I have a potential buyer, with anything. So the system, guys, it's not what it was when I first started, right? It's a lot better. So it's a lot easier to pick up everything than it was 2017, 4 or 5 years ago, right? So
Yep. All right, Mike.
um,
So sorry, I killed your flow there a little bit. So let's go back to what you sold it for, and then we'll go back to the payments. You get
yeah,
this sold for what?
I structured the payment real quick, at 2,500 of it. It goes to taxes and insurance, 1,500 principal.
So you make one payment. In this case, we usually pay taxes ourselves, but you make one payment to the seller with that breakdown.
Yep. And mind you,
Got it.
that I mean, this place has been vacant for a while. They've been living, a couple hours away from it, getting $0 from it. So for them to collect 2,000 a month, and
Right.
knowing that I was taking care of everything, taking everything off of their shoulders, for them, um, it was a good deal. So I started high. I didn't think he was going to bite on the 1,500 principal, which was the remaining part of the payment, right? And he said, okay. So I just went with it. I was hoping to get at least half of that. So
So,
um,
Mike, important for these guys to hear this. Mike, real easy thing for Mike to say with an empty home, I got it, I'll take care of all the maintenance and repairs, and then we pass that on to our buyer. But the seller doesn't know that inherently, right? They just say, oh, this
right,
guy's going to take care of everything. Okay, so what do we sell this for?
659.9.
And was that about market at the time? I know people ask that all the time.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit above, a little bit above.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to your payday one. Was it all up front or was it structured over time?
Structured over time, so I got 30,000 up front, and then I'm getting, or I got one part of, I got 18,000 at the 12-month mark, an additional 18,000 down, and then an
Okay.
additional 18,000 at the 2-year mark,
Okay.
and that's
Awesome.
10%.
And then
That's 10%.
10% total. Okay. Was that because, before I pivot, was that because of tax returns or why was the 18 structured or how was it structured?
No, we did. It wasn't even about taxes. It was just about that, the buyers needed that time. They could put that money together with their jobs and what they were doing to put that additional down. And mind you, guys, this home is in the Monterey County area, so it's within the FHA limits. So normally, this house in my immediate area would be a jumbo, so I would require the 20. But this one, I knew the numbers. I knew what I needed to hit for them to qualify for, a loan, and 10% would be just enough to get them qualified when they're ready.
All right, so this is huge, Mike, because from a buyer standpoint, you're setting them up to win. And what you just said was really huge for these guys to hear. If it was a jumbo and he did 10%, he's setting them up maybe to fail because they
Right.
might need to come up with too much money at the end and they wouldn't even know it. Some people don't understand that. So, really cool nugget there. How much are you getting from them, or how much? We'll get to where this was time wise, but how much are you getting from them?
How much? What? I'm sorry, I missed
The
you.
buyer, sorry, the monthly payment from the buyer.
23.95. So I want to go back to this payment. So the payment is kind of low for the price of the home, but the rent in the area wasn't comping out to be much higher. I tried a higher price first, and I just scaled back over time while I was marketing. And then once I got to that 23.95 mark, um, it was kind of like the sweet spot for the area. That's when it really jumped. And so we sold at 23.95. So I'm only making, well, it's still a decent amount for a spread, 3.95 a month, for the spread.
So what's payday? Well, up here we got 66 grand, right, on payday one. I just want to make sure I'm catch up myself
Correct.
here. Okay, and payday two comes out to what?
Payday two. Are we going over the 3 year or 5 years? I signed the buyer up for a 3 year term. Are we going to go over that or the potential?
Let's go conservative. I always want to go conservative. These deals
Okay.
all can grow. So let's go
Good.
conservative. Whatever one you have in front of you.
Conservatively, payday two is 14,220.
Okay. And then just so we can get through the paydays, get to the end result, and I got a couple questions. So you had a premium here of what? What's that come to? 42,000 on markup?
Yes, 42,000 markup. No, 43.
Sorry, 43. Pay down on the principal total?
On a 3 year, it's 54,000.
Okay, so on owner financing deal, guys, here's the metric. If you're new and you haven't heard Zach and I do this on either YouTube or Clubhouse, you get a owner financing deal with a sales price of 200 or higher. You get at least a 4-year term. You get at least monthly payments of $1,000 or more. You have a 6-figure deal, period, every time. Now, you don't have to memorize that. Just know that these owner financing deals are super lucrative 6-figure deals. So Mike, we take off the deposit of 66 grand when it comes time for the cash out, right?
Yes.
Down below. Did you get the extra first months before having to make the payment? I didn't see that up top.
I did.
Oh,
You
no.
know, I didn't even calculate that in there.
So you made more than you thought.
I did. Yeah, I
extra-
made an extra 2,000, a couple grand. Yeah.
An extra 23.95. We'll add that at the end. So
Yeah.
what's payday 3 come to?
Payday three comes out to 67 if you take out. Well, I didn't count the additional paydays. I just counted the 30 and I took that off. So when I calculated mine, I'm sorry, on my deal structure sheet here. So let me just give you the total. How about that? 113 is the conservative number.
113.
Yeah, and then if I went,
You are inviting 130 people to ask me how we came up with that. But 113 is good if that's to all 3 paydays.
yeah, 130. It might be a little bit of 1,000 above it, give or take. But if we went the full 60 months, we're looking at 158.7.
Well, where is this time-wise right now?
We are past the 1.5 year mark.
Okay, so we're early. And do you foresee, like in your communication so far, do you think they're going to cash out on time?
Yeah, I mean, he has our monthly payment on automatic direct deposit to our account. He didn't miss his additional 18,000 on the house, or excuse me, on his additional payday one, which
Awesome.
was the beginning of the year. He's been one of my ideal. He would be your ideal buyer. Just put it that way.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, this is Nick. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the buyer and their situation, why they can't get a loan today?
Yeah, I missed that. Thanks.
Yeah, it wasn't about credit with them. It was more about the down, and then they wanted to move out of the Bay Area. This is like right when COVID was getting kind of crazy. Lockdowns were happening. No one knew what was going on, and they wanted to move to a rural area. They found our deal, and they were like, "Hey, they wanted to just get out of the area. It was a perfect house. It had the perfect land size, the area they wanted to be in. It just all lined up, and we did the signing. I had never met these people in person. We did the signing all remotely. I mean, it was easy at the time. I didn't even have a Zoom. It was all like we did 3-way calls and things like that. But it was a very simple deal to do. No deal is simple, but for it being my 6th one compared to the others, this one was one of the easiest ones, and it's going to be one of the most profitable.